Escape from Shinganshina. Kaito carried the fainted and severely injured Carla on his shoulder, her lower body hanging limply, and he sprinted toward the inner gates. As he passed by the inner gate, which had been broken earlier by the armored Titan, he encountered a scene of chaos and devastation. Many members of the garrison corps lay crushed under the rubble, some dead and others barely clinging to life. The area was sparsely populated as most people had already fled to the waterway, desperately attempting to escape the Titans. However, a few individuals remained, survivors who had fled in any direction they could to avoid the relentless Titan onslaught. The destruction and suffering were evident, painting a grim picture of the ongoing disaster. "That will do," he said as he caught sight of a middle-aged woman trying to pass through the debris while running frantically. With greater speed, he intercepted her path and appeared in front of a middle-aged woman, startling her into gasping in surprise at his sudden presence. The sudden intrusion of Kaito brought the middle-aged woman to a state of shock. Her voice trembled as she stammered, "Who?" With an unsettlingly cheerful smile, Kaito replied, "Thanks for kindly donating your life force." Before the woman could react further, his hand pierced through her chest, and her gasp of horror was cut short. Her eyes widened as the pain coursed through her, and she could only manage strained pained breaths. His hand moved through her body, shoving aside bones and organs until it reached her rapidly beating heart. With a swift and chilling motion, Kaito's fingers closed around the woman's heart, digging into it a bit. The woman stared blankly at the horrific sight of his bloody hand moving through her body, her mind unable to fully process the nightmare unfolding before her. "Sorry, Carla, gotta take a bite," Kaito muttered. He turned his attention to the fainted Carla, her lower body still hanging over his shoulder. Opening his mouth, his unnaturally large canines sank into the soft, supple, and bloody thighs of the woman. Ah! Even though she had fainted, she let out a small moan of pain. Kaito wondered how she could feel that she couldn't even feel the pain of her legs being crushed minutes ago. As Kaito sucked the woman's life force, her body underwent a grotesque transformation, akin to a decaying corpse. The warmth of life fled from her, and her once expressive eyes turned empty and vacant. Her facial features froze as if she was a marionette with her strings suddenly cut. "What is?" A look of confusion and bewilderment lingered on her face, her last moments forever sealed in an expression of unending shock. In stark contrast to the macabre scene unfolding before them, Carla's lower body, which had been hanging limply in an unnatural and lifeless position, suddenly began to change. The dislocated bones shifted back into place, the cracked bones mended themselves, the torn muscles regenerated, and the blood that had been seeping from her wounds flowed back into her body. Kaito pulled his hands out of the woman's body and his teeth from Carla's thighs. The woman's body fell stiffly on the ground, whereas the teeth holes from his bite in Carla's patched up. Kaito spat a mouthful of black blood on the ground. He rubbed his tongue with his free hand to remove any aftertaste. "Fuck, that was bitter, never fucking doing this again." Kaito withdrew his hands from the woman's body and released his mouth's grip on Carla's thighs. The woman's body fell stiffly to the ground, her shriveled-up body serving as a gruesome testimony to her ordeal. Kaito, with a look of mild disgust, muttered, "Fuck, that's bitter," as he spat a mouthful of black blood onto the ground. With Carla's severe injuries miraculously healed, Kaito's attention shifted to other matters. In the recesses of his mind, Kaito struggled to comprehend the nature of the abilities he had acquired. Even more perplexing was the unsettling realization that he felt an emotional void, a numbness that extended even to the act of taking a life to save another. To him, killing the woman to heal Carla's injuries felt as mundane and emotionless as slaughtering a chicken for meat. The stark disconnect between his actions and the absence of any profound emotional response left Kaito grappling with the profound changes that had taken place within him. Shaking his head in an attempt to clear his thoughts, Kaito gently patted Carla's backside, but she remained unresponsive, lost in her own ordeal. Climbing on a boulder, he turned his attention to the waterway in the distance. Kaito observed the chaotic scene unfolding as the carrier ships were being filled to their limits. People desperately clamored to board, some even attempting to leap from the harbor into the water, often with dire consequences. Kaito muttered, "No fucking way, I'm getting on one of those damn things." He took a deep breath and let out a shrill whistle that carried through the tumultuous scene. Tweet. In less than a minute, a horse came galloping to his side. Kaito climbed onto the horse, firmly gripping the reins. Unfortunately, his whistle had also attracted some other unwelcoming beings. Several Titans who were searching nearby buildings for humans raised their heads, their sight locked on the golden brown-haired insect. Shit. He cursed his stupid mind for trying to look cool even though nobody was present. If one counts a corpse and a fainted woman, he did have an audience. Anyway, he couldn't afford to wait for long as the horde of titans drew closer, their relentless advance a constant threat. With a face that looked like it had eaten shit, he spurred the horse into action, and it responded by racing in the direction of Wall Rose, the next frontier in humanity's struggle for survival, with a horde of titans in tow. Those thick bloody juicy thighs. Your comment is the motivation for my creation. Give me more motivation. NightSpectra creators' thoughts. 3 comments 0 vote. Relentless pursuit. Damn you, past me. The anguished cry echoed across the green fields as the horse thundered forward, bearing a teenage boy holding its reins and a woman in ragged household clothing seated behind him. The boy's expression was a volatile mix of frustration and nonchalance, while the woman's face displayed distress, tears welling in her eyes. Kaito glanced over his shoulder and saw the relentless pursuit by a horde of at least 10 titans. Among them, 6 towering 15-meter class titans led the charge, accompanied by smaller class titans. The relentless chase had persisted for the past 4 hours since they had left Shiganshina. With the sun directly overhead, the titans showed no signs of fatigue, and the same couldn't be said for the horse they were riding. Carla clutched the boy tighter and wailed, "I can't believe this is happening. I just wanted to bake some bread, not outrun titans." The boy, his eyes narrowing with frustration at these dumbhead titans, responded, "I know Carla, but we can't outrun them forever. We need to find shelter. Fast." Carla nodded, her face pale with terror. She glanced at the approaching titans and implored, "Where can we go? There's nothing around, and the walls are so far." Kaito, his grip on the horse's reins unyielding, answered, "There's a small village a bit further ahead. Hopefully, it's still standing." Carla, her fear momentarily eclipsed by a surge of dark humor, couldn't help but quip, "What's the village's main attraction? Titan chasing races." Kaito chuckled, the absurdity of their situation not lost on him. "Well, we might be pioneers in a new sport. Titan dodgeball. The village, are we even sure it's safe there?" Kaito shrugged as best as he could while keeping his balance on the horse. "Well, we'll either find safety or become part of a not-so-great Titan buffet. So, let's hope for the best." He urged the horse to run faster, causing it to let out a sound that was a cross between a tired whinny and an exasperated groan. Kaito muttered, "Hang on, my 4-legged friend. We'll make you an honorary member of the scout regiment after this." The bizarre sight of a boy, a woman, and a horse racing away from titans was surreal, and Carla couldn't help but laugh amid the chaos. "I never thought I'd see the day when I'd be running from titans with a horse thief and a joker." Kaito grinned, his carefree spirit undeterred by their perilous situation. "Carla, you have no idea how many skills I've acquired. Thief, joker, philosopher, horse whisperer. The list goes on." As the titans continued their relentless pursuit, Carla couldn't help but chuckle despite the gravity of their circumstances. Laughter in the face of danger seemed the best way to cope with their absurd situation. 2 hours ago. Carla's eyelids began to flutter as she slowly regained consciousness. She had been trapped in a harrowing dream where her home was suddenly crushed, burying her beneath its ruins. In that same nightmarish vision, titans had breached the walls of Shiganshina, and in that same nightmarish vision, Eren and Mikasa had desperately tried to free her from the debris. Still, they struggled in vain as a terrifying titan, its eerie smile sending shivers down her spine, drew closer. But then, a mysterious boy appeared and slammed the titan down with sheer strength. It had all felt so vivid and nightmarish. As Carla blinked her eyes open, she was greeted by the sight of the ground passing by, lush with grass. Her body swayed gently up and down, and her surroundings became clearer. She was on the back of a galloping horse. "Gee, grass," she muttered, confusion still clouding her senses. When she turned her gaze upward, her brain froze in horror. "TT Titans," she stammered in terror. Before her, a horde of man-eating titans gave chase. Her fear intensified as she realized that these creatures looked exactly as they had appeared in an illustration in a book she had once seen. Panic surged within her, her breathing stopped, and her face grew as pale as a ghost. The nightmarish reality of the titans bearing down upon her left her paralyzed with terror. "Hey, you're finally awake." A playful voice called out from behind Carla, causing her to realize that she was strapped to someone's back. She tore her gaze away from the relentless horde of titans and turned her head as much as she could, managing to catch a fleeting glimpse of the speaker's face. "Why, you're that boy from the dream!" Carla exclaimed in astonishment. Despite the harsh reality unfolding around her, her mind clung desperately to the hope that what she had experienced was a mere dream. The boy chuckled. "Oh, dreaming about your Prince Charming, are you? Naughty girl," he teased. Carla couldn't fathom how he could find humor in this situation, with death lurking so close. Nevertheless, he continued, "Sorry to burst your dream, Cinderella, but that wasn't a dream, you see. That was the grim reality." He heaved a dramatic sigh to emphasize the point. With the undeniable truth confronting her, Carla could no longer deny the harsh reality. She shook her head in disbelief, murmuring, "And no, it can't be." Wide-eyed, she turned to face Kaito, or at least tried to. Panic seized her as she thought of her children. Eren. Mikasa. Where are they? She cried out in alarm, hoping against hope that her worst fears were not coming true. Kaito reassured her with a soothing tone. "Relax, they are safe and on a ship en route to Trost with Hannes." Carla couldn't fully trust the stranger's word, but it provided some much-needed relief for her mind. Thoughts of Hannes taking care of Eren and Mikasa reassured her to some extent. As she looked ahead once more, the eerie faces and giant forms of the Titans remained a terrifying sight. However, her terror was somewhat more manageable now, with the news of Eren and Mikasa's safety playing a significant role. The eccentric boy guiding the horse also contributed to her newfound hope. The memory of the boy effortlessly flipping the Titan upside down was etched vividly in her mind. Perhaps, against all odds, there was a chance she might survive this nightmare. Despite the dire situation, Carla's curiosity gnawed at her. After a minute of silence, she couldn't contain herself any longer. "If you don't mind me asking, who are you?" "Oh, me. Well, I'm your friendly neighborhood Kaito rider. It's a pleasure to meet you, ma'am," he replied with a hint of playfulness in his voice. The word, neighborhood, triggered something in Carla's memory. "I've seen you before," she suddenly exclaimed with a touch of anger. "Aren't you that creature who distributed pornography to boys?" Kaito's eyebrows shot up in surprise. He hadn't expected this particular recognition. "Oh, that," he said, grinning slyly. "Well, I suppose I've worn many hats in my time, but that's not my main occupation. I'd call myself a jack of all trades, really." Kaito's light-hearted response took Carla by surprise. In the midst of this terrifying Titan pursuit, she hadn't expected anyone to make jokes or treat the situation so casually. However, as she glanced at Kaito, something about his attitude began to appeal to her. "How is the Titan chasing amusement ride?" Kaito quipped with a smirk. "You won't believe it, but you're my first customer." Carla couldn't help but chuckle despite the dire circumstances. Perhaps it was the adrenaline of the close encounter with death, or perhaps it was something else entirely, but she found herself appreciating life more than ever. The absurdity of the situation and Kaito's unique humor provided a strange comfort during this nightmarish ride. In this world of chaos and death, even a brief moment of laughter felt like a precious gift. She looked at Kaito, her eyes reflecting a mix of emotions. "I never thought I'd have a chance to laugh during a Titan attack, but I suppose you've proven me wrong." Kaito's grin widened. "See, ma'am, that's the spirit. Laughter in the face of danger is the best way to defy it. We're on this crazy ride together, and we might as well make the most of it. Isn't that quite a nice thought? Feeling like starting a genocide while laughing all the way kekekekeki, you guys wanna join? Your comment is the motivation for my creation. Give me more motivation." NightSpectra creators' thoughts. 4 comments 0 vote. Whispers in